Good morning. Welcome to your Monday morning, early morning intuitive guidance. Running a few minutes late today. We got about 4.5 inches of heavy wet snow, and so had to work our way around that a little bit as we went out to do our morning business. And now TJ's sitting behind me licking. So we'll see if that resonates through the video. Hopefully not. So I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, your practical rebel, ready to share some more information with you from Taking the War Out of Our Words. Good morning, Cindy. Glad you are here. Welcome, welcome. The Art of Powerful Non-Defensive Communication. Good morning, Lucy. Welcome. And I'm going to have opportunity to practice what I'm preaching today. So this will be good. And this little section, actually, I think sometimes I'll share a couple of sections. Good morning, Deborah. Glad you are here. A couple of others might have slipped past. Welcome to everybody. Good morning, Carolyn. Welcome, welcome. This is what happens when I run a few minutes late. Everybody's like, where are you? So we have been working on the section in the book about predictions. Good morning, Renee. Happy Monday to you also. Thank you for the sunflowers. It is gloomy, wet, and heavy right now. I guess we're supposed to get another roughly an inch, but we have 4.5, and it's wet and heavy. It's perfect snowman weather. I think I'll pass. Anywho, speaking of the prediction, the gist of making a prediction is we make the prediction with all of its various parts. So we don't just say, if you're late, I'm leaving without you. Good morning, Beth. Glad you are here. You provide all of the potentials. If you're late, I'm leaving without you because I want to be on time. If you're on time, we can ride together. You do both sides of the picture. And if there's more sides than two, lay those all out as neutrally as you can, because the important part of the prediction is that you are not trying to get them to pick a particular reaction. You're trying to lay out for them all of the reactions. You're as open as you can be to whichever one they pick, and then you merely follow through on what you said you would do when they picked that particular outcome or path of behavior. So it talks about how that's protective to us. It's protective to the other person because it predicts very clearly what's going to happen. It creates very clear boundaries. It separates us from them. So if we're those people who have issues with enmeshment, that your problem is my problem, I'll take it on, I'll fix it, I'll do everything. It helps with the separation. No, this is your problem. I'm going to lay out where I'm at with it, but then you're going to make your decision. It provides accountability, not just accountability for them, but for us. We own our reactions. So if we get defensive when we're laying out these predictions, we're very clearly going to own that we've gotten defensive. Okay? So that's a very useful part of the process. But where we are right now is a little section on page 178, for those of you who have the book and are following along, called disarming. Because remember, this book is taking the war out of our words. In order to step away from war, we need to disarm, right? We're going to lay down our arms. So that's what this part is talking about. We often turn to predictions after our efforts to ask questions and offer position statements have not brought resolution, right? So we've tried asking questions. It didn't go where we wanted it to go. We've tried stating our position. That didn't fly either. So in such a case, the other person may still be locked into power struggle and therefore less likely to disarm immediately. I'm also going to suggest that if we've gone through those stages, we may still be in I need you to do it my way stance. So we need to, again, be aware, take the step back, breathe a little bit, and then step into the prediction statements. So here's several examples that I think are really good ones that'll help us wrap our brain around this idea of disarming. The first time Corey told her daughter she would not drive her to a slumber party if she continued to speak to her in a demanding, rude tone, Beth threw a royal fit, even though she could easily ride with a friend who lived nearby. Again, locked into the behavior. It's not a logical, reasonable thing. It's that emotional thing, and that doesn't operate on logic, right? As adults, we may also throw varying degrees of tantrum. Virginia initially sometimes got furious when Doug wouldn't finish what he was telling her after she interrupted him. Because remember, his stance was, if you interrupt me, I'm going to stop speaking. When you can listen and let me finish, I'll be happy to do so. Many people, I love this. I've experienced this myself, being on the receiving end of this. Many people report that though their immediate response to a prediction was to shift internally toward being less defensive, they did not show that change on the outside right away. So the behavior pattern's still operating, but inside they've already begun to go, oh, this isn't the big hairy deal I thought it was. Why am I still reacting like this? So your curious observer may note that you are changing on the inside, but the outside is still in the fixed action pattern, okay? Often in response to clear boundaries, especially where there have been none before, disarming is a gradual stop-start process. So again, I think the important part for us is, good morning, Peggy, glad you are here. Don't get wound around your axle thinking that predictions have failed. They haven't failed. You need to give it some time, keep exercising the process, and eventually, it's like, I hate to say this, it's like training your dog. The first time you do the command, they typically don't get it. They fumble around, they be their doofus selves, whatever. Eventually they catch on. Oh, when I put my butt on the ground, she gives me a treat. I think I'll put my butt on the ground. So, same thing for human beings. Even though we have this cortex, it doesn't always mean we're catching things right away. We've got enough reptilian brain going that sometimes we're in those patterns that we just keep looping through. So, again, disarming may be a gradual stop-start process. When Sally would predict that she was not going to try to convince Marcus to talk, he said he could usually feel a shift in his attitude. Okay? Sometimes he opened up and sometimes he didn't. Again, there's that period of time where change is occurring where it isn't going to be consistent. So again, don't give up on this too easily. Don't feel like you're not getting it or it's not working. Give it some time. Keep practicing it. Though some people don't ever disarm, my experience tells me that most people will gradually do so if we maintain clear and consistent boundaries. On occasion, a person will immediately become less defensive in response to a clear, non-punitive prediction. Gerard had basically a good relationship with his daughter Colette, who was 18. They were able to discuss many issues in depth. Yet Colette would strongly resist Gerard's advice, even though she frequently adopted it later on. Once, in the middle of an argument, Gerard became fed up and decided to use a non-defensive prediction. He started with a position statement, followed by a prediction. Okay, again, you can mix and match the pieces depending on what's called for. It feels too stressful to try to talk to you about issues like this when you resist what I have to say. From now on, if you're interested in having my advice so you can consider it, you'll have to ask for it. If you don't ask, I won't offer. Gerard remarked that he was stunned when Colette instantly burst into tears and said, I like your advice, Dad. Please don't stop giving it, even if I don't think to ask for it. He replied, I will, if you will be clear about whether you want it or not. I just don't want to fight you. Okay? So he's removing himself from the battle. He's not participating in the war anymore. All right? And notice that she then is taking some steps forward. When Gerard decided not to force his advice on Colette, she immediately began to regard it as something valuable that she didn't want to lose. One reason people seem able to shed their defensive armor is because, as previously discussed, the non-defensive prediction simply outlines our responses to their choices rather than trying to dictate to them what they should do. Okay? So when you step out of the let me tell you what to do box and move into the I'm just going to lay out the playing field here and then you are going to do whatever you're going to do and I'm going to respond according to what I'm just telling you. Okay? Thus, instead of putting all their energy into keeping their own willpower intact by resisting ours, they can more neutrally consider which option serves them best. Okay? And sometimes you can see that with a little kid. If you walk over there, you're going to slip on the ice and fall and hurt yourself. If you hold my hand, you'll probably stay on your feet. And you can just see the little gears turning, and sometimes they're still going to walk over onto the ice and land on their butts. So be it. But that's how we learn. Again, that's how we learn. Are predictions similar to boundaries? Yes, they're in the same realm. The boundaries may actually come across more in terms of position statement too. So let's go back to Gerard here. He starts with a position statement. It feels too stressful to try to talk to you about issues like this when you resist what I have to say. There's his position statement, okay? He's already beginning to draw his line in the sand, isn't he? Then comes the prediction. From now on, if you're interested in having my advice so you can consider it, you'll have to ask for it. If you don't ask, I won't offer. So there's the two ends of the coin. And again, she makes the strong point that you want to lay out both sides of that coin. Even if it seems obvious to you, lay out both sides. Okay? So again, going back to the guys where the one guy's always on time and the other guy's always late, laying out both sides of the coin. Instead of just saying, if you are ready on time, you can ride with me to the theater. Say the other part. If you are late, I will be going by myself so that I'm on time. He then gets to choose. Show up on time, I get to ride with you. Show up a minute late, you're gone already. Okay? So laying out both sides. So here's the second thing. Second, since a non-defensive prediction doesn't have to carry a big club, we just honestly predict how we're going to react to another person's attitude or behavior, our predictions are more likely to expose our own vulnerability, okay? And a lot of times we armor up. That's what Brene Brown calls it. We armor up. Not getting this one either. I just keep checking her page to say, oh, notifications. Okay. Yep, I don't know what to tell you guys. Facebook does what Facebook does. Algorithms do what algorithms do. I have considered changing to a different platform. There, I'll lay that out for Facebook. If you keep taking away my notifications, I am likely to consider moving to a different platform. If you give my people their notifications, I am likely to stay with Facebook. There, how's that for... Things to weigh into that, though, are then people need to come to a different platform, which they may or may not be willing to do. Okay? Yeah, laying out boundaries with Facebook. Ha ha ha. And actually that book that I just finished reading by the Nobel Peace Prize winner, Maria, let's see if I can pull her last name out of my brain. Anyway, her gist was that she had done a lot of this with Facebook. I need to talk to you about what the algorithms are doing and how it's manipulating people and how it's changing how governments run, etc. And gotcha. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you guys. The technology is just an irritant at times. What was I reading? Oh, I know. It was Maria Shriver's newsletter yesterday, and somewhere in there was someone talking about the harm done by all of the mass social media stuff. And I don't think we're all that aware of it. So I think that is something we need to attend to. And there's times when unplugging is a really good idea. I remember this with television. How many of you can raise your hand to this one? I'm just going to watch my favorite show. And then you watch your favorite show, and then you watch the next one, and the next one, and then pretty soon 4 or 5 hours are gone, and you've been sitting there with drool running out of your face, not really present. But you violated your own boundary there because you were going to watch one program and then turned off. If you find that you are not sticking to your own boundaries on that stuff, I'll just have one drink, I'll just eat one piece of cake, I'll just watch one program, I'll just spend 10 minutes on Facebook. If you're finding you're violating those boundaries, that's a huge warning bell to take a look at. What's going on with me that I can't honor that? What am I avoiding? That's the big one. What am I avoiding? You know, life is overwhelming right now, so I'm going to lose myself in mindless TV, or I can't deal with my marriage right now, so I'm going to pour myself into Facebook. Pay attention to that stuff. Pay attention. Be as honest as you can be with yourself. If that runaway horse runs away for a little while longer, so be it. But if you can be honest, I gotcha. So yes, and this is the great thing about this is though, and I know everybody likes to be on live. I get that. I totally get that. But the great thing about this is stored on my page. So you can always find it. You wouldn't be present live at the time, but at least you can find it after the fact, which is some consolation, I hope. So, but yes, pay attention to what am I saying I'm going to do and what am I doing instead. We can be honest with ourselves. We can be honest with ourselves and say, I'm just going to make one up. Yeah, I'm having a few too many drinks every night, but right now I don't want to stop that. I'm not ready to deal with that. I'll be honest with myself about why I'm doing it. I will explore that stuff. I will, for those of you who are struggling with that right now, there's a great book called Quit Like a Woman. And I really highly advocate for that. And her name is, let me see if I can pull it, Whitaker. Can't pull her first name. Anyway, Holly Whitaker. So it's Quit Like a Woman. It's a great book. And it basically looks at why AA doesn't necessarily always work well for women. So I just had a thing drop down, those little reminders that you can set on your phone. Speaking of technology, reconcile bank statements. Really? Go away. Yes, I get that. I totally get that. And I wish there was a way that one of the things that I do try to do is I stall at the beginning. I'll talk about the weather. I'll talk about my dog, whatever. I'll give you a little update on my life. I'm stalling so that you guys can jump on, that you can find me. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think as each of you joins on, it makes it more likely the rest of you are going to get the notification. So I do try to stall a bit so that people have time to show up. The joys. So let me read the last couple of paragraphs here, because this is the part where it's talking about our predictions are more likely to expose our own vulnerability. And the more vulnerable we can be, the better the conversation's likely to go. All right. We tend to armor up, like Brene Brown says, but if we can, good for you. Yes, and it's hard work sometimes to stay in sobriety. It's really hard work. But the more we love ourselves and are kind with ourselves and are brutally honest with ourselves about what the drinking was about, the better off we're going to be. Yes, exactly. We have to honor Facebook for that too. We wouldn't have these connections were it not for Facebook. So I just think it would be good. It would be healing if they changed some of their policies, especially the ones that are driving some things politically, etc. So the last two paragraphs, some vulnerability. I will get to it eventually. We can just kind of circle around all over the place here. Just as Doug was able to predict what he would do when Virginia interrupted him, he gradually was able to predict for her how it made him feel. If you interrupt me when I'm saying something that is important to me, I feel invisible to you. And disappear inside myself. I can't imagine that he said that to her and it didn't catch her attention, right? When you interrupt when I'm saying something that is important to me, I feel invisible to you and disappear inside myself. Here, Doug no longer hides his feelings of loneliness behind angry attempts to get Virginia to listen or periods of withdrawal. His prediction forecasts his own authentic feelings. When another person sees our own vulnerability, rather than trying to take more power over us, the person is often apt to disarm also, to become vulnerable as well. It's a really good book, Judy. Really good. And again, we need to be kind and loving with ourselves as we're making these changes. This earth walk is not for sissies. There are parts of it that are like, really? But the same as with broken bones. What happens? The part where it was broken ends up healing. That's stronger than the bone on either side of it. As we're being bent, twisted, spindled, etc. by life, we are indeed getting stronger. We're souling up, we're showing up, we're doing. Sometimes we have to recede and lick our wounds. Sometimes one of my favorite ways of dealing with overwhelming is I'm going to bed early tonight. I'm going to go take a warm bath. I'm going to go to bed early. Tomorrow when I wake up, I'll take another look at it and see what's going on. And I'm actually in the process of that right now with my sister, where we got into it a little bit yesterday evening, and I'm like, nope, I'm too tired, she's too tired. This is not a good time for us to try to resolve this. Both went to sleep. Now this morning, we're already starting to work some stuff through. So, and I'm utilizing things from the book, which is fabulous. All of this just takes some practice. All of this just takes some practice. Be willing to practice. Be willing to let your guard down. Be willing to be as open and honest as you can be about things. And so with the prediction part, let's say you make a prediction, but you do so when you're still a little bit wound around your axle, okay? You may need to go back afterwards and say, I'd like to modify my prediction. That was still coming a little too much from a place of anger. Let me try again. Hopefully that person can say, okay, great, take another whack at it. Some people will say, well, yeah, you were a little bit pissy then. See if you can let that pass, because those people are going to need time to change too. They're not reading the book, right? They're not reading the book. So the only influence on them changing is us and how we respond. So as we respond differently, because we're in relationship, they're necessarily going to make some shifts, or we'll fall out of relationship with them, which, painful though it may be, often affords us a lot of freedom. And after the fact, we can look back and go, I'm glad that one's done. I'm glad that one's done. So that little section is on disarming, how we lay down our emotional arms and how we can help other people lay down their emotional arms by using prediction. Good morning, Lisa. We are just done, but I'll post it. Feel free to watch. And I hope you all have a wonderful Monday. Despite our 4.5 inches of wet, heavy snow, it's pretty, but maybe I'll just stay on this side of the door. Well, I got to go to the chiropractor, but whatever. I have a Subaru. I will get there. Enjoy practicing the disarming stuff. I think it's going to make such a huge difference for all of us in our own lives and in the lives of those we love. See you again tomorrow. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are. Bye-bye.